some news coming on Taylor Hall. Kevin Paul Dupont of the Boston Globe reported earlier on Friday. Taylor Hall is expected to begin practicing Monday and likely will return to action upon the conclusion of the Bruins' upcoming 5-game road trip that kicks off Sunday afternoon in Detroit. Hall, who was in the press box Thursday night for the Bruins' 3-2 loss, said he was relieved that his injury wasn't more serious and is eager to get back to work Monday. A source close to Hall noted that the initial plan will be for the 31-year-old left winger to play in back-to-back games. That's pretty big. Now, Montgomery said something on Friday to the effect of, they want him back for the playoffs, if memory serves, right? So interesting thing going on here, but I think the moral is Hall will be back at some point this year.
Poke the Bear is brought to you by FanDuel, the exclusive wagering partner of the CLNS Media Network.
Yeah, exactly. I think right now you're looking at either the gamesmanship or what have you in terms of whether this guy's going to be back or not. But it does seem like regardless of what the timetable is, the Bruins do expect him back at some point. Again, I don't think he's going to be 100%. This is absolutely going to be one of those ones where when the playoffs end, whether it's in June or earlier, when we do our breakup day with the team, he's going to have something gnarly going on that he's fighting through. So a testament to him that he's going to be playing through it. Again, seems like the second opinion that he got on his lower body injury was promising in terms of being able to play through it, which is good. But yeah, it's going to be something he's going to be fighting through. And it is curious to see how they do map out this timeline. Like, it'd be great if he's back before the season ends in terms of, getting back in the lineup, getting hopefully some of that rust off, and again, kind of figuring out how you want your lines to work. Because again, we've mentioned it. Tyler Bertuzzi is a very good contingency plan. If you have a third line that's Coyle, Hall, and Bertuzzi together, or whoever knows what the different matchups are. Like, I believe during Friday's practice, I think Bertuzzi was skating with Krejci and Pastrnak. So they can do whatever they want with their, middle six, and you're going to have a pretty good grouping out there. But to have Hall back at some point, depending on whatever his effectiveness is and how healthy he is still a huge plus for this team. And it is curious to see just how they do map out the recovery timeline, because you also have to factor in the cap as well. Like, if he comes back, I do think you need to clear out, I think, like $1.5-2 million. So I don't know if that means you put Foligno in LTIR and keep him out till at least the playoffs. I believe he has a longer recovery timeline that they're not ruling him out, but if he is back, I imagine it's probably a little bit later in the playoffs is what probably the gauge is right now if he does come back. So a lot up in the air, but it does seem like at the very least, it's not like it's the usual gamesmanship of like, oh, he's hurt, but we're not going to rule him out because we don't want to let it be known that he's out of the equation. It does seem like they are hoping that Hall will be back at some point. Now, how effective he is remains to be seen.
Yeah, I don't think they need to rush him back. I think that's the biggest thing. Yeah. We said this about Marchand earlier in the year, right? There's no reason to rush him back into action. I know obviously you want to kind of he wants to develop chemistry with a Tyler Bertuzzi potentially on that third line, but you're fine. You're fine. I mean, we're assuming that March is going to be a month of some guys definitely getting some rest. I think Taylor Hall should be among that. Now, again, 5-game road trip, that's not, that won't wrap up until end-ish of March, which is crazy. Time flies, Connor. It's crazy. Time's just flying, Connor. It's crazy. But I mean, it just goes back to, as you said, if you can roll out a third line in the playoffs of Bertuzzi, Coyle, Hall, that's a second line on most teams. That's borderline a first line on some teams. So again, I just go back to they clearly don't need to rush him back and, thrust him into action, especially if it's, something that's with his legs or things like that. And I'm curious to see if it impacts his skating at all.
Yeah, that's a big thing. Watch. I have to imagine. Yeah, again, I don't think this is something that is going to be magically healed. He's going to be fighting through some stuff. So how much of that trademark speed of his gets impacted? I think it's safe to assume there's going to be he's not going to be the same Taylor Hall that we saw, especially early on this year when he was such a matchup nightmare in that third line. But still getting him back to the lineup is still a win for this Bruins team ahead of the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, again, just back to the matchups, right? I mean, the playoffs, that's really what it comes down to, and to have that line that you can put up against anybody else. Now, again, the interesting thing, though, is that Coyle, as you said, has been a defensive center all year. With Bertuzzi and Hall, do you want that to be more of a, ozone start line Interesting thing. I don't know. Again, the second line kind of is always in the ozone with the trading chances of Zacha, Krejci, and Pasternak.
Sign up at FanDuel.com/Boston and get in on the action with $200 in bonus bets, guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet.